So far we have seen people who does not surrender to Krishna and people who does surrender to Krishna for various reasons. And there are people who surrender, but they are not atheistic, but they don't surrender to the Supreme Lord, but they surrender to various other deities for various reasons. So we are going to see that section today. Any questions, thought, reflections? Anyone just wants to get their voice into the room, please feel free. Yes, Ritesh, bro.
Yes, Prabhu, I have a question about misled intellectuals. So it is said like we can't perceive this knowledge, or of course we can, but not to the extent it can go just by our intellect. It is beyond the intellect. It is more from the heart. So in that sense, aren't we all misled in the way that we are trying to perceive, still trying to perceive it intellectually in some way?
Thank you. Yeah, so we are also trying to understand God through our intelligence. So it's not that Krishna is saying using intelligence is a crime or being an intellectual is a crime. That's not the idea. He's saying to say that because faith is trust by experience. For spiritual faith, so to develop trust in spiritual matters, it is through experimentation. So even in this world, we don't develop faith without scrutinizing something. But if I'm not even willing to scrutinize, because for them the methods should be like, they should be able to experience, like, say for example, if I say, if you just chant this mantra, Hare Krishna mantra, and the names are non-different from the God's names are non-different from God, so this sound will purify your mind. So it's like, what crazy thing is that? Because I don't believe that there exists a mind in the science, because not all neuroscientists believe that their mind exists. It's just the brain. They don't, sorry, they don't believe that mind exists. So that itself is one level of faith for them, even though they are using their mind and thinking through it, because the science cannot prove it, so it does not exist. Even though mind is such a personal experience, some scientists agree, but there are a lot of scientists who will not agree, neuroscientists. So even if they agree with the mind, to believe that, okay, this mantra can actually purify the mind, sounds like kind of crazy, illogical. But the idea is you develop faith through trust by experience. So okay, just accept it as a challenge and try it and see. So without even attempting to experience it, without even going through the process, to say that this is bogus is like kind of being cynical, just because the ways are not according to what they know through science and their technology. Because this is a different kind of a subtle technology. Spiritual technology is more subtle, it has its own rules. Just because it does not follow the similar rules as matter does not mean spirit does not exist. But it's very difficult to convince them.
Yeah.
So we are all here to develop trust through experience. So we are not just hearing, but we are also like open to experimenting with the process. So being an intellectual is not a crime, but like thinking that that
Yeah.
makes.
I hear you. Like intellect can give us information and knowledge, but we have to realize it by experimenting and actually practicing it, what we are doing, what we are hearing. Yeah,
Yeah.
makes
So
sense.
even if I don't have full faith, like when I started chanting Hare Krishna, I had no faith. I didn't know, first of all. At the same time, I did not think that this mantra can do anything big to me. Like I was like, okay, it's a nice mantra. Let me just chant it. But when I chanted for 6 months, something changed. So then it's a trust by experience. I'm like, wow, this is something different. It's not, I'm not the same person. Something is changing in me. So I wasn't clear what is changing and how it is working. I didn't know that much of knowledge. Uh, However, the experience gave me the trust so that I could continue to apply myself to the process. So, thank you. Anybody else? Okay. So we're starting.
Prabhuji, related question. Uh,
Yes.
Does that also mean that if you're not experiencing any changes like you experienced, then the what can we attribute it to? Is it to the intensity of our chanting, or what can it how will we know that we are experiencing it? What will we feel?
Hmm. Thank you, bro. Means we are all experiencing in some way something. That is why we're continuing to try. Bhagavatam is very clearly saying how can we measure that there is something happening? What is that thing? Is it just my feeling? Because even if I watch a movie, I feel something. Like today's spirituality is like feel good. So anything people can do and they feel good. So that does not mean it is spiritual. So how do we measure? How I'm making an advancement in bhakti or the process of bhakti is working. So if it is right applied rightly, Bhagavatam says one should experience natural detachment from matter and attachment to Krishna gradually. Maybe the what you call like it's also a gradual process. It's not like a kind of an overnight process. We are all in our own journey. It is not just this life. It is related to the past life. So each one of us is like having our own personal relationship with Krishna. So to the extent Krishna says, Ye yathamam prapadyante tamstataiva bhajamyaham. So to the extent we approach in the kind of mood that we approach, accordingly actually Krishna reciprocates. And also people think spirituality is in general like, oh, okay, you can just do whatever you want. No, it is also a science. So taking shelter of a guru in the sense, no, I'm not speaking about initiation, but like understanding that I don't know anything about Krishna. I need to hear from, like, reading Prabhupada is one of the best ways of taking shelter of a guru in the initial days. So studying and trying to understand, like, what is this perspective from which Srila Prabhupada is coming, and what is this who is this Krishna, and why is he so mad about this Krishna? Like, what's the deal? Like, that's like when I don't know Krishna. So when I see Prabhupada, I'm like, here is a person who's mad of another person. Have you ever had a friend who's madly in love? So then you understand why you're so attracted to this person. I don't understand what is the thing. So it's like I was looking at Krishna like, okay, I know somewhat, but there's some I don't understand why Prabhupada is so madly in love with Krishna. That, okay, what is he trying to tell me about Krishna? Who is he? What is that? Like, in that sense of having a curiosity and learning it through someone who has already realized it, actually that taste will come to us also. So bhakti is actually not a mechanical process. It is not like it's okay, this is the mantra, you chant, and then boom, Krishna will be in our hearts. But that mantra is being received from a person, so, and trying to develop that relationship with that person. So from their heart, that bhakti comes into our heart. So I'm not sure if I exactly answered your question. It's
Yes,
about
Prabhu. Yes, Prabhu. That gave me a good like a good direction. Thank you, Prabhu.
Hare Krishna. So here we are speaking about from verse 20 onwards. I think we completed 20, 7.20. Just a minute, I'm just opening. Yeah, Krishna says, uses very strong kind of a language in verse 20. He says, those whose intelligence has been stolen by material desires surrender unto demigods and follow the particular rules and regulations of worship according to their own natures. And their own nature means sattva, rajas, tama. So the devata worship is also according to sattva, rajas, and tamas. We see some people sacrifice goats, and it's like kind of very ghastly kind of worship. Some people's worship is like very sattvic. It's just like ghee lamps and simple offerings and kind of prayers and chantings and music. And music in worship also very different. I'm not sure if which part of India you're from. So there are different kinds of music that is used in different kinds of worship. You go to a Vishnu temple, the music is like kind of different. You go to a Shiva temple, the music is different. You go to a Durga temple, the music is different. You go to more like Grama Devata's temple, the music is completely different. So the modes are very visible in the kind of worship that people take to. So now then we have some questions that that comes up in our mind when we read all of these things. I am trying to address some of these questions in the future slides. So let's just stay with the verses and get there. Would someone like to read what's there on the screen?
I can read.
Yeah, please.
I am in everyone's heart as the super soul. As soon as one desires to worship some demigod, I make his faith steady so that he can devote himself to that particular deity. Endowed with such a faith, he endeavors to worship a particular demigod and obtains his desire. But in actuality, these benefits are bestowed by me alone.
Thank you, Prabhu. So here Krishna is saying, okay, if somebody is interested in worshipping a particular demigod, I I kind of sanction it. I strengthen their desire to worship. So then this shows that Krishna is not jealous, because a lot of people think, oh, why Krishna has a problem in we worship other demigods. Like, is he like kind of jealous, like that nobody should worship anybody else? I'm the supreme, just come to me, or something like that. Here we see now what is Krishna's mood. Krishna is not jealous, but he is zealous, in the sense he wants us to come back to him. That is his idea, because as eternal spirit souls, our connection is with Krishna eternally as his parts and parcels. So Krishna as God is not concerned about guarding his position, because nothing can actually challenge his position. He's the source of everything. So his position is actually unchallenged. So there is no need for him to be insecure that someone will take his position. So that is not the reason he is demanding that be the exclusive object of worship. Actually, he wants to facilitate the spiritual evolution of the souls, because when their connection with the demigod is temporary. Some of these demigods are also just positions. Like Indra is a position. It's different people taking up the position of Indra at different times, different souls. So it's not the same Indra that we see in all Puranas. He's not making the same mistake again and again. It is different people who come to the position of Indra keep making different mistakes. So the same with Varuna, the same with Vayu. So these are positions, like prime minister, president, vice president, like that. However, there are certain Lord Shiva is a completely different tattva. Lord Shiva is not just a demigod. For lack of space and want of a better term, sometimes he's just included in the list of demigods. But in terms of Vaishnava tattva, he's not just any other demigod like Brahma or Vayu or Indra or anything like that. So Krishna is here saying, men of small intelligence worship the demigods. Why is the small intelligence? Because they're concerned about the immediate. They're concerned about, oh, how can I make it in this world? They're not focused on anything beyond this world. So most of the religious people, they're just stuck in the mud of the immediate needs. So the rest of knowing that the human life is for the sake of spiritual realization and re-invoking my relationship with Krishna, reawakening my relationship with Supreme God, Lord, most people are not thinking like that. So there are various categories of beings. Even though Krishna is the source of everything, still there are many, everything emanates from Krishna does not mean everything is same. Like Prabhupada gives this example, sun emanates heat and light. They both are energies, but they're different kinds of energies. If one material object like sun can give out things which are of differing nature, Krishna, who is the supreme, can actually produce different things, can emanate from him, but can have different natures. So the incarnations are non-different from him, from the Supreme Lord. But when it comes to demigods, as I said, I didn't have enough space to put Lord Shiva in his own separate part, because he's explained in the Brahma Samhita as how when the milk turns into yogurt, it's still milk, but it is not milk, because it has a different property because of being a yogurt. So Lord Shiva is actually a transformed position of Lord Vishnu, but they both have different natures. So Lord Shiva is that expansion, or like that we can say expansion of Vishnu, who's of different nature, who's of a special nature, who is as good as the Supreme Lord. However, he is the Supreme Lord in touch with the material nature. So his position is unique and separate. He's not just like any other demigod. However, for want of space, we have put here. And Brahma and Indra and Vayu and so many other demigods are all in Devata category. And Durga is also not just any other Devata. She is the material energy. Like Radharani is the internal energy, Durga is the material energy. If if Lord Shiva is the counterpart of Lord Vishnu in dealing with the material nature, Srimati Radharani's counterpart is Durga in dealing with her. She is the material nature, and Radharani is the spiritual nature. So Durga and Lord Shiva, Parvati or Maheshwar, however we call, they are of a very separate nature. However, their worship, the tendency is usually people, those who approach him, approach with this tendency of asking for temporary benefits. So that is why they are all classified as demigod worship. Sundaranand Prabhu?
Yes, Prabhu. So we mentioned about Lord Shiva, right? So is he similar to the other demigods? Is he a soul or is he an expansion?
He is not a soul like any other demigods. He is not a Jiva Tattva. He is not Vishnu Tattva. Lord Shiva has his own Tattva called as the Shiva Tattva. So as I was saying, the Brahma Samhita gives this one example that when milk is transformed to yogurt, it's still milk. It's a dairy product. But the nature of yogurt and the nature of milk is completely different. So because of that, even though he is also like you can say, okay, Lord Ram comes from Krishna, Lord Nrsingadeva is an avatar. Lord Shiva is not avatar in that category because their tattva is all same. They are all Vishnu tattva, but he is not exactly. So that is why he is reserved a special position. So he cannot be disrespected as considering as Jiva tattva or any other demigod. No, he is actually the expansion of the Supreme Lord who's specifically dealing with the material nature. So because of that, he has a special tattva.
Thank you, Prabhu.
I know it's not like a very easy topic. It has more details, but I hope there's some clarification. Thank you. Chakresh?
Wait, so are you basically saying that Krishna and Shiva are like the same, but Shiva just deals with the material?
In certain sense, they are same. In certain sense, but in the sense of their tattva, they are not. They are also not same. Because in terms of are they gods? Like are they gods? Yes. But are they like kind of is he also Vishnu tattva? No, in that sense he is different. So that is why the milk and the yogurt, they both are dairy products, but are they actually same? No, they are different.
Yeah, but I also have a question.
Yes.
So if like they're Shiva and Krishna are like the same, but it's like different tattvas, what about people who worship like Shiva? Like,
Mhm.
but like they just worship him, like no wishes, like.
Okay. That is again, it's a very, very good question, Chakresh, because it ties into the topic and it actually helps me clarify certain important things. So you see, there are also different kinds of worshippers of Lord Shiva. The same applies for Vishnu also in some sense. However, for Lord Shiva also, there are people who like Lord Shiva and want to be his associate, want to be his devotee. That is very rare and different from someone going to Lord Shiva saying, okay, give me some wealth or make me powerful, make me immortal, like Ravana, or in the Krishna book, we will see in the Canto 10, even Vrikrasura, so many, even people who are like like having other motives, they also go to him and worship. So they're all not doing the same thing. It's not same. So when anyone approaches Lord Shiva or the other demigods with material reasons, so it's all temporary. So that is what is called as the demigod worship. So if they are going to Lord Shiva with that kind of an attitude, that will be classified clearly as demigod worship. But if somebody actually wants to uh, be a devotee of Lord Shiva just because they truly want to actually serve Lord Shiva, so it's a very different category. So the processes are different. So there is also a Kailasha planet, which is a spiritual planet beyond the Viraja, and there also he has his associates. So even Sanatan Goswami, like there are many instances in the Puranas and in the other literatures, Vedic literatures, where someone prays to Lord Shiva with the prayer of, "You show me what you think is the best for me." When people have that kind of a prayer towards Lord Shiva, then usually he guides them towards Vishnu worship. So we see that in the Bhagavatam, we see that in the other places. And I've had a friend who had such prayers. He was going to a temple called Babulnath in Mumbai every week because he was having an exam. So the astrologer said, you go for 1 year every Monday, Tuesday, some day, and do this particular puja to Babulnath ji, so your problem will be solved. So every week he was going, and it was kind of very grounding. And then that thing got solved. It was 1 year over, and then his problem also got solved. So but he got into the habit of going every particular Monday morning to Babulnath. It has become like his part of his schedule. So when the 1 year was over, the immediate next week he did go show up and said, every week I was praying for me to get out of this problem, but the problem is solved now. But so I have now I like to come here. So he just started praying that day to Lord Shiva. I don't know what to pray for. Whatever you think is best, just do that to me. I whatever I prayed for, it is already done. So I don't know what else to ask. But whatever you think is good for me, just do. So he just prayed like this, came out of the temple. Uh, Babulnath temple is very close to Radha Gopinath temple in Mumbai Chowpatty. So there was a devotee distributing Bhagavad Gita. So he was standing outside Babulnath temple and he was distributing books. And then this particular person who was prayed just to Lord Shiva that do whatever is good for me, got a Bhagavad Gita, came to the temple for the first time. He really liked. So he was very convinced that it is Lord Shiva who exactly, because that is the prayer he just offered. Whatever you think is good for me, do that. And immediately, like within a few moments, he just met a devotee, got a Bhagavad Gita, came to the temple, really liked it, and he became like a full like a practitioner of Gaudiya Vaishnava tradition. So he has a complete conviction that it is Lord Shiva who guided him. So we have seen there are so many instances in Bhagavatam also like that. So when people really want to ask from Lord Shiva, you do whatever is best for me, whatever is good for me. So then it is he will show the right way. It is said anyone who passes away in Kashi Varnashi, it is considered that Lord Shiva chants the name of Lord Ram in the person who's passing away in their ears. And also you see Lord Shiva is always meditating and having snakes all around his body. So it is said his worshipable Lord is Sankarshan, and he is meditating on Lord Ram's name. So he himself says in the Padma Purana verse to Parvati, it is usually chanted as part of I think Vishnu Sahasranam. Rame Rame Manorame Sahasranama Vitulyam, that thing. So yeah, I don't know if I went all over the place. Chakresh, you asked this question that what about people who worship Lord Shiva, right?
Yeah.
Okay, did I answer your question?
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you, Chakresh. When you say yes, it's a compliment. I know you won't let me go if you're not satisfied.
Prabhuji.
Thank you, Lord.
Yes. Thank you. So anything else that anyone wants to know in this topic? So in this section, if you summarize what Krishna is saying, who worships demigods and why is he saying it is not right? The only reason he is saying is if people are just stuck on the level of material benefits and thinking that living in this world is everything, and they don't think anything beyond this life and the comforts of the body, then they're actually wasting the opportunity of they're being religious, they're not being spiritual. So it's good. They are not atheistic, but they are also not spiritual. They are not like working on the ultimate thing. So that is why Krishna is saying they are of small intelligence. They are better than atheistic people for sure. That is why Krishna is strengthening their faith in worshipping that particular demigod, because the hope is that through that worship they will probably come somehow or other, meet a devotee at some point, and then gradually have a transformation of heart. At least they are not sinful, at least they are not atheistic. So that's why Krishna does encourage. But here Bhagavad Gita is, this section is Bhakti Yoga section. So that is why if you see chapter 3, Krishna actually encouraged Arjuna to do demigod worship. Have you ever noticed that in the 3rd chapter? Anyone remembers what I'm referring to? Anyone has a Bhagavad Gita in their hand? Yeah, go to chapter 3, verse 10. There Krishna clearly tells Arjuna or encourages demigod worship. He says, in the beginning of creation, the Lord of all creatures sent forth generations of men and demigods, along with sacrifices for Vishnu, and blessed them, saying, be thou happy by this yajna. And if you see in the next translation, he says, the demigods being pleased by sacrifices will also please you. And thus, by cooperation between men and demigods, prosperity will reign for all. So he's literally saying, do these sacrifices through your cooperation, just by cooperating with the demigods, offering them the sacrifice, you will have better life. And if you don't do it, you are a thief. He calls them a thief, those who don't worship the demigods, in verse 12. Yes, Purva.
But the reason this is mentioned here is because the 3rd chapter is about karma yoga. So it is about reaching to Krishna through your own work, through whatever work you're doing in your day-to-day life, instead of surrendering and going to the forest, isn't it? So that is why he is recommending here the demigod. And that is why in the 12th chapter the demigods, because this is no longer karma yoga, it's bhakti yoga.
Thank you, Purva. Your like statement that this section is about karma yoga is very appropriate, because Krishna is also using different levels of motivations to inspire Arjuna. So initially, because Arjuna is so hopeless and he just feels there is nothing fortunate come from this war, and he's feeling completely dejected, he wants to inspire him on some level. So he's saying, at least he's trying to give him desire. At least have some desire to enjoy life. Don't become depressed. So trying to enjoy his world is not the best, but being depressed is even worse. So he's trying to pull him out of it. So the first level of motivation he is giving is desires and fear. That is the first level of motivation he gives. Then he gives the motivation of fighting for based on the duty. So if you just go read the verses 3.12, 13, 14, 16, 17, at the end, towards the end of that section, Krishna will immediately change the mood. He will say, okay, you can fight for desire, but the best is to fight without any desire. Fight because it is your duty to fight. So that will also come in the end of that section. He says, don't be attached and fight without desire for fruits of the action. He will come there. But he's saying, okay, if you are not there, at least start somewhere. So demigod worship is a good place to start, but that is not the eternal place to stay. So because this section is about bhakti yoga, it is not about developing a relationship with the Supreme Lord. So demigod worship becomes an obstacle on this level. So each person has a different qualification. Say, for example, if I'm like a small boy, like if I was 10-year-old, 15-year-old, maybe playing some video games is okay. But to be addicted to video games when you're 40 years old is ridiculous. It's stupid. So when that's what here Krishna is denouncing the people who are worshipping demigods, because here somebody has come to the idea that life is not just about enjoying this world, wanting to develop their connection with Krishna. If they have come to that level of understanding, then just being stuck with this world is like does not make sense. That is why he's denouncing. So demigod worship has its place, But here in the context of Bhakti Yoga, it is not necessary in the sense because there is much more to get in our life than just wealth and just praying for a good wife, or like praying for a good husband, or praying for a bigger house, or just praying for some more money. These are necessary things. It's not that we need not have those things. It's important we have those things, but that is not the end of everything. Krishna Prabhu?
Hare Krishna Prabhu, I think I understand your answer, but also that other question that comes to my mind is, how do we know then when to endeavor and when not to endeavor?
In regards to?
In regards to material success, we do, for example, I do pray to the Lord for some success in some material activities. I've always prayed for such things, and
Yes.
and I also endeavor, but should I understand that praying is not very relevant because it's not a very good thing to ask for, but also endeavor, sometimes I endeavor quite a bit. What is the right time to endeavor for these things, or what is the right level of endeavor that we should put in?
Yeah. So Krishna says, Yat karoshi yad ashnashi yad juhoshi dadasi yat tapasyasi kaunteya tat kurushva madarpanam. He says, whatever you endeavor for, whatever you work, yat karoshi yad ashnashi, whatever you eat, yat tapasyasi, whatever austerities you perform, offer everything to me. So even whatever endeavors we are doing in our lives, you can offer it, make it as an offering to Krishna, because what is the purpose of your life? If your purpose of your life is to develop your relationship with Krishna, then everything you do in that connection gets spiritualized. So we don't need to worry much about it. As long as the thing is according to Dharma, endeavoring for that is not a problem. Like Yudhishthira Maharaj ruled a big kingdom. There are so many kings who ruled their kingdoms, who fought wars, who waged wars, who made sure the enemy is controlled. Like, it does not come in between their in their devotion. Does not mean they have to not endeavor in their work. As long as things are according to Dharma, yes, you're a father, you're a husband, you have your duties, and you have a certain profession, you have certain skills, that proclivities that you need to engage that according to the Dharma. But at the same time, the endeavor should not be so much that it leaves no time for spiritual inquiry and spiritual practice. That should be the bottom line. If something is completely taking away, say for example, if you're 20 years old, 21 years old, trying to set up your life, maybe you're more anxious, and then you're spending more time towards that aspect of life. If you're just getting married and then you're trying to figure out a life, yes, but you're settled. If you have things going on in a kind of an auto mode for most part, and you have come to a certain level of status, and things are settled in life, children are grown up, something like that, then that's how Varnashram was decided. So a Grihastha does not just remain absorbed in their activities, but gradually go towards spiritual life. So with age also, it becomes very clear when somebody is 45, 50, 60. So then gradually the amount of time that they endeavor for spiritual activity should also be prioritized.
Yeah, thank you,
So
Prabhu.
spiritualize your work. Yeah, makes sense, bro?
Yeah, makes sense. Yeah, spiritualize our work, and the offering, whatever the results of our work is as an offering to Krishna.
It's good. Use it in the service as much as possible. All of that is fine. But separate spiritual practice, the time for you are able to dedicate to your spiritual practice exclusively should also be included. It should not be eaten away by the endeavor for other things. Though they are all very important and spiritualized, because your purpose in life is wanting to develop your relationship to Krishna. So that means you should be able to take separate time for your sadhana.
Yes, Prabhu. Thank you so much.
Thank you. So first of all, when somebody is just worshipping demigods without even being aware that there is a supreme lord and all of those things, and what they're asking is for temporary, they're just absorbed in that, so then it is not considered very intelligent. So it does not mean we need to disrespect the demigods. The other extreme is our demigods, like kind of delightful. That is also not right, because these are powerful beings, and it is clearly they should be respected. And in the rituals, when they need to be respected, when they're given a position, yes, that all needs to be followed. And according to their position, they should be surely respected. And then you can always pray to them for spiritual help. It's not that you should never pray to them. Like if you're going to like I sometimes go to when I go home, my parents would take me to so many temples that we used to visit in my childhood. One of my favorite temples is a temple in Tiruvannamalai. It's in Tamil Nadu, India. So it's a very beautiful temple. I grew up there, so I go there. But now the prayers that I offer is completely different. I just pray to the Lord, please make my attachment to Krishna more, make me an surrender to Krishna better. So it's not a problem to go to a temple of Lord Shiva, or like in the course of your life, if you come across Lord Chaitanya prayed in so many temples of Lord Shiva, if you read Chaitanya Charitamrita. But the idea is like, what are you praying for? So how are you understanding who they are? That is the thing. And then we can always pray for spiritual help. So it's not a problem. Especially we should not disrespect them. It is not very favorable. One should not disrespect them. The last section hopefully will complete today. What is the time?
9:55.